Welcome to RNFC, the official Rebellious Noise Football Channel, where you'll find content such as goal hanging, live match reactions, as well as news and opinions on all aspects of the beautiful game. We will also cover some of the more cultural side of the sport, such as kit reviews, football nostalgia, and in-depth historical pieces on those who built the game that we love today. So win, lose or draw, make sure you subscribe before the full-time whistle blows.
Okay, welcome to the Rebellious Noise Football Channel. As you might be able to tell, today's show might be a little bit different than usual as far as our moods go. I'm Scott, joined by Dan. Hello, Dan.
Hey, what's up, man?
Right, so we say a lot, we referenced it a few times. In the intro there, we've got the reaction to Trippier's goal in the semi-finals of the World Cup, and how I've said a few times, when that goal went in, for that split moment, we were a World Cup finalists. And at least looking back, I got to experience that moment of thinking my team's going to the final, right? This time round, obviously different competition, but we got one step further. And I am glad that we did get to celebrate an amazing goal in that same, I was in the same location. The atmosphere was amazing. I'd never celebrated a goal more in my life. I was running up and down the steps, and it was amazing. But obviously, Dan, we all know it didn't end too good for England. I guess, should we start positive with that? It was a great start to the game. Great goal. Obviously, you being a Man United fan, I'm sure you're happy to see Shaw do well.
Roberto Carlos, mate. But yeah, come on, England anyway. We're never wavering from that. But
no, well, I've took the shirts down, as you can see.
I'm wearing black because the whole country's in mourning.
I wore the special edition Italia 90 shirt, the one that came out, the blackout edition one. Which there should be a video on this channel about soon. If you like kits, check out our kit reviews. I wore that, and I was jokingly saying, "Oh, this is the Italy's funeral. I'm wearing it because of that, or I'm wearing it because it's the funeral of the 55 years old." And then nah, look.
But yeah, the thing is, this game, it's strange. It had so many comparisons to the Croatia game that you mentioned. So in that game, we scored quite early on, and it was literally to the minute that Croatia equalised and Italy equalised. So it was, I think, the 68th minute Croatia equalised, and 67th minute this year Italy equalised. So it's kind of if I'm totally honest, I think we scored too early, as stupid as it sounds.
We needed to get two. And again, that sounds stupid as well, going, if we had 2 goals, we'd do, obviously. But it's a momentum thing. You say that in a momentum sense, if we would have got a second goal, which I think we should have, and again, the same thing happened with Croatia. In that first half, we were all over Italy. I was turning around to the people I was with saying, we're so much better than them. We are what is going on? Why are we so good? That's how good things were going. Second half, though.
Yeah, it seemed like we were literally a different team in the second half, really. First half, I thought, the way that I think the biggest shock actually, just to touch on the lineup, was that he reverted back to the 5 at the back, which, I thought we actually worked that pretty well. We were playing that formation, I think, was working for us. Obviously changed it mid-game as well, because obviously with Trippier went off, didn't he? And they brought on, I think that was when Saka came on for Trippier, and then obviously switched to 4 at the back. But yeah, it's weird because there were times, I think, obviously Italy were having a lot more kind of pot shots at goal. Both keepers had to make some decent saves. There's quite a bit, obviously, in the game to talk about. There's obviously the talk that Italy could have had, maybe in some people's eyes, should have had a couple of red cards as well. And then obviously get into what happened at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's it. You can't help but jump around, innit? Because you're going into Southgate's kind of decisions of tactics and substitutes and stuff like that. And the thing is, a lot of people doubted him at first, and we were playing too kind of, I guess, conservative and didn't want to do anything too much risky and all that. And we've got these attacking players. But then, I think everyone got on board because it was like, yeah, it's working though, isn't it? And I think it could have worked in this, and it was working up until, and I don't want to say it because but yeah, Southgate's decisions cost us. That's what I feel happened in this. Whereas I feel in 2018, the team cost us. I think the team weren't experienced enough. I don't think the team were together. Like, they were great. 2018 was an amazing ride, but this is a better squad. It really is. It's that team, but better, you know, and that's why I think people expected to win it but then again, yeah, I think Southgate's decisions, and again, we're going to jump all over the place. It's not going to be in minute by minute here, but he brought on subs too late, in my opinion. And then especially Sancho and Rashford. Obviously, they were coming on for the penalties. Sancho was warming up for about 8 minutes, or getting ready, but not even warming up. That's kind of the issue, you know. Like, they barely, I don't know if they even touched the ball, if they did, barely. And then they've got to go take. I know they were put on 4 penalties, and they are.
You see that quite a lot anyway.
But the nerves, man. Then, like, you can't deny that the nerves would have been there. That the first, like, Rashford's one was nerves, like, because he sent the keeper the wrong way and he hit the post. And I'm not a fan of these kind of run-ups, but both of those instantly, I went, no, God, they're not scoring. I was screaming at the screen. Why are you running up like that? It's not going to work. Like, because I could tell they weren't confident. Like, because they ain't really kicked the ball, they ain't done nothing. And then Saka, again, like, obviously, I was like filming reactions as well. And I screamed at the TV, like at the screen, before he even took it. I was screaming, why are you putting the pressure on him? Why is he the 5th taker? Why? You know, like that. I was so disgusted with the fact that Saka stepped up and did that. And I know people say, you know, it won't phase him, and like that's why we put him in there, because nothing phases him. Well, guess what? Things might phase him now because he's had this. And yeah, you could say it could be character building, and he could come back stronger. He's only young and stuff like that. But it's a risky thing to do, to give him. And I tweeted about it and all that, you know, like last night, but. Yeah, you know, give him the opportunity to be the winner when we're in front, maybe. But to give him the 5th spot when you've got to equalise and all that pressure's on him. I just felt, after seeing 2 people just miss as well, and I know they might not want to change it up too much, and they might want to go, hold on, if we put someone else in now, it's too late, because they didn't know those 2 guys were going to miss. But at the same time, you could have guessed that because they weren't warmed up.
I mean, I'm just checking. Like, I don't know if you have to nominate your penalty takers like beforehand, because they may have actually already said to the referee, like, you know, these are our 5. So, here we go. Let me have a quick look. Penalty kicks. So this is from the FIFA laws of the game. Penalties. Yeah, usually it is that they would have said to the referee.
Yeah, so maybe you can't go, oh my gosh, they've missed. Let's take him out. Let's protect him now. It is too late in that sense. But at the same time, I don't know about you, but I had a feeling they wouldn't score. And when Rashford didn't score, I kind of felt, I know why. And Sancho ain't scoring either. That's what I felt. Yeah. Like.
I mean, for me, it was, and I mean, in a way, I kind of echo a little bit of what Roy Keane was saying. I mean, I don't know if you've seen what he.
Yeah, but Grealish has come out and said, isn't it, like when Sky Sports he was
so
like, I did want to take one. So it's hard to judge that kind of thing.
But... Yeah, but then the thing is, it's like you're hearing so many like conflicting things. So like Roy Keane obviously saying like, you know, if you're Sterling or Grealish, you can't sit there have a young kid go up for a penalty ahead of you. Which
I don't understand why Sterling didn't. But again, it might not be his decision.
But the thing, so actually, a little bit of an insight here. Apparently, when they were all in the huddle before the penalties, someone's actually like caught it on camera where Southgate's going around to the players and telling them the order of how he wants them to take it. So obviously he said to Kane and Maguire, you're 1 and 2. Then he points at Rashford 3, Sancho 4, Saka 5. Then he points at Pickford and says 6.
Right.
Calvin Phillips 7.
So where's Sterling in all this? I mean, maybe Sterling didn't want to take it. Like, we can't assume, but so like people are about Grealish and he's come out and saying, I wanted to. But yeah, so why is he not in it?
But the thing is, so the only thing I can think, so Gareth Southgate has come out and now said that it was totally his decision on judging how they were in training. Now, you look at Sterling's penalty record. Before today, he'd taken 9 penalties in his career and missed 4 of them.
So perhaps Saka's never taken a penalty.
Saka had never taken
He's
a penalty.
Never taken a penalty. It's crazy. I know. And again, I saw some of his like press stuff afterwards, and Southgate saying, "Oh, you know, like you say, it's on me," which I'm glad he did. He's an amazing man, you know, manager and a coach in that sense. You know, like the way he kind of protects his players and stuff like that. But I feel like doing it what he did to Saka here wasn't great protection. I'm glad he went up to him after. It's emotional seeing him crying and hugging him and stuff like that. But yeah, like him saying, "Oh, it was on me," and he said, "Oh, we had taken off two of our penalty takers earlier," but you can't pretend that you didn't know that.
Yeah, Trippier and Mount, yeah,
because you put on the other two anyway.
But
so
then
you
what?
Knew that you were going to do something like that anyway.
But then the thing that doesn't get me is then, and I know that I've kind of said his name quite a bit on these things. You had Dominic Calvert-Lewin sitting on the bench as well, who scored 3 out of 3 penalties. Like he's not missed a penalty at the moment, and
we should have gone all for it. My big thing was like, I'm scared of extra time, but we'll win it in extra time if it goes there because we have a better bench. But we didn't use them until it was too late. You know what I mean? Like I said, you saw Rashford 10 minutes before. We still had 10 minutes left. It's when the camera first showed Rashford getting ready, taking off his like jumper or whatever it would have been. You know, like
because I thought he was coming on then, but then it seemed like an age until he actually came on. But
and it could have. If they would have brought him on earlier, Calvert-Lewin, they could have got into the game. It was like we all of a sudden were playing for penalties. It was mad. You know, like the way it changed as well, like we touched on earlier, the first half was amazing. Second half, it was awful. And something needed to change. The system needed to change. You know, we were losing the midfield battle. Henderson and Grealish coming on, good ideas. But again, too late. That's what they should have done. We should have controlled the midfield battle from around the 55th minute when it was obvious it wasn't working. You know, we would have calmed things down because they were relentless, Italy. And then when it goes into the extra time, even if that didn't work, then those attacking players should have come on earlier in extra time. We should have been trying to win it in extra time.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, like we should have had that wrapped up at half time, to be fair. Like we had the chances to win it. And to be fair, we had the chances to win it throughout, I think. And, you know, I mean, the thing is, though, where would we be if we weren't talking about England at a major tournament and penalty heartbreak? You know, it just wouldn't be England without it.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
it's like as much as we can say, oh, we're kind of used to it by now. What we're not used to is getting to major finals.
Yeah,
and
finals.
You know, for me, last night watching this game, I must have gone through every single emotion imaginable.
That's the beauty of football, but
but do you know the one that literally stood out, head and shoulders above everything else, was pride. Like the amount of pride I had in every single one of those players that pulled on an England shirt throughout this tournament was just incredible, you know. And you know what? I'm not gonna slate Rashford, Sancho, or Saka. Every single one of them boys had
I'm
the
not a fan of the run-ups, but
the run-ups are questionable, but every single one of them had the balls to step up, you know.
Yeah.
Would I have had Saka taken the 5th penalty? No.
So this is interesting as well, because I know some people probably look at it as like, Kane, get him done, get us starting well, right? But why would you not put he's most likely going to score anyway. Why would you not put him towards the end? Because he's used to pressure. He's used to penalties the most. Why don't you go with a risky kind of like, you've never taken a penalty in your life, kid. Why don't you, like, I'd put him first. I don't know. I know other people might have it the other way around where they think experience first, settle the nerves. But it doesn't matter when the person at the end is inexperienced and it's the most nervy penalties. 3, 4, and 5 are going to be the worst as far as nerves go and pressure. So why do you put the kid there? Why do you put the people that haven't even properly warmed up there? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's where Kane should have been.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, if I'm looking at it, I mean, and this is just in hindsight, like, I think if you're going to have, like, Kane obviously would have been a shoe-in. So I think probably, you know what, I think the one, like the Kane, Maguire, then Rashford, I think that was probably the best 3 options to start with, because Rashford obviously has taken penalties for Man United as well. You know, before this, he'd taken 17 and only missed 2. So he's had a pretty decent penalty record. But then
I think a big penalty taker should be one of the last ones. It should be on their shoulders because they're used to that pressure.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I would have probably chucked in. I mean, I probably would have said, Sterling, you've got 68 caps. Like, you've probably got more caps than everyone in that team. Get up there and take a penalty.
Yeah, but again, we don't know if, like, maybe he weren't feeling it. I don't know. It's hard to tell with that.
Possibly Stones as well, but
again, like you say, a lot of it is hindsight. So
But I mean,
because if it worked, we'd be going, oh man, how great was that? They brought on 2 great penalty takers, did the job. Look, the wonder kid who everybody loved through the whole tournament, he's done the job. It would have been great, but I didn't feel confident. I saw them 2 walk up and I thought,
but I mean, as well,
come on earlier, and then I saw Saka and I thought, this is too much pressure.
And what they did as well was they literally put the 3 youngest players that we had on the pitch taking the 3 most pressured penalties as well. So, you know, Rashford obviously at 23, but he's taken like 17 penalties. He's, as I say, missed 2. Sancho, yeah, he's 21 years of age. He took penalties for Borussia Dortmund last year sometimes. His record before this was 11 penalties taken, 10 scored. So these are not players necessarily. Like, you look at those records and you're thinking, you know what, they probably were good choices. And
but that's it. But again, for them two, it was the key for me that they came on so late. I know they came on for that job, but they weren't warmed up. They weren't in the headspace. You know, you've never been in a European final. Do you know what I mean? And then Saka, for him, it was just, you know, it's a lot of times I think that's going down to luck with penalties, right? So
the thing is
going to go the other way. But
the keeper I mean, the thing is, you got to look at it as well. Sancho and Saka, their penalties were saved. So, you know, I think you'd feel worse if, say, like Saka had smashed it over the bar or put it wide. You know, that would have been, you know what? Yeah, he wasn't ready for it. But the fact that he took the penalty, he hit it quite well, actually, got it on target. But Donnarumma's made a good save. You know, you've got to take nothing away from him. And Pickford as well. He was brilliant in that shootout, especially that Jorginho penalty.
And that's what hurts more. We got a few comments here from Lucas. If we quickly get into them, actually.
Yeah, so, go for it.
Obviously, Lucas has been on the show a few times as well. Biggest heartbreak has been the behaviour of honorary fans who've heard racist abuse online players, as well as breaking in the stadium. Yeah, both sides of that. Again, it's like, you don't want to be like, oh, it's a pocket of fans, but we've got to admit there were a lot of fans that ran in, and there's a lot of people doing idiotic things online. Obviously, we can only condone it and say, you know, we feel absolute love for the boys that stepped up, no matter their skin color, their gender, their race, anything, like their belief system. Like, you're playing for England, and like, you're a human being. It doesn't matter. Like, love from all of us, you know. So
once you pull on this, you're one of us.
Yeah, and they're like human. I mean, that's all.
You know, you're an England footballer. You're a human being. You deserve to be treated with the same level of respect as everybody else. You know, at the end of the day, how many of you people that are trolling these guys would have had the balls to step up in front of 60,000 people and take a pressure penalty in a cup final?
Exactly. We got a few more as well. Can't fault the boys and squad at all, but I've just questioned penalty saves long and not pressing high position in the second half. We let it be possible way too much. That's exactly what we were saying, Lucas, as well. A squad, Rashford and Saka. I think that's right. I would have sprinkled it out experience-wise. Maybe Rashford at the end or Sterling.
Do you know what? Even Pickford, though, like Pickford's penalty that he took in the Nations League against Switzerland.
I think even going 6th is weird. I mean, he should have been number 9. You know, experience for training, though, not for the Euros final. I completely agree.
I mean, and the thing is as well, so yeah, Calvert-Lewin obviously didn't take one. Trippier and Mount would have taken one. The 3 players that he also took off were Walker, Henderson and Rice. Now, you know, I've not been Jordan Henderson's biggest fan. I feel as though him with experience, he would have been one of the players that would have said, look, I want to take a penalty. But
he ain't done too well with them lately.
You know, yeah, he's missed 2 big penalties. Like, he was the only one that missed against Colombia. He missed the one, obviously, in the friendly. Was it Romania, I think it was?
One of the last ones before we picked the tournament, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, you know, at the end of the day, Italy, I feel as though should have had, I mean, they should have had at least one red card. I think the referee was a bit
if either of those things happened to us and we got a red card, I know the laws of the game as far as like, was he the last man and was it this, like, but I don't see how you can't see choking someone is not violent contact. I just don't understand that. Like, Chiellini literally pulled his shirt. Like, it's upset. Like, I know it sounds silly because people might think it sounds silly anyway, you know, because we're just watching football and whatever, sore losers. But like, every time I've seen that picture, it's really upset me because I have a protective thing about Saka anyway, right? I'm an Arsenal fan. He's our star boy, you know, like. But I'm so pleased that other people have got to see that now because he's a great person as well. You see any interview from the kid, like, perfect. Like, that's how you want someone to be. Like, a lot of people said, I saw some great a Man United fan on Twitter went viral earlier. You know, it was in his 40s or something like that. It was like, I can only hope my nieces and nephews to grow up like you, Saka. Like you, I didn't know much about you before the tournament, but now I'm like basically enamored with you, sort of thing. You know, so yeah, I'm so glad he got to show that off. But yeah, seeing him get pulled like that, it's heartbreaking. And then the Jack Grealish one on his leg, you know, like again, like Grealish was going in, the other guy's going for the ball. But at the same time, like if that happened to us and we got a red for either of those, I would accept it, because he did stamp on Grealish's leg and he did choke Saka and pull him to the floor. Like, it weren't they say tactical foul. I know they say Italy are good at the dark arts and stuff like that. I was expecting that. But like for me, there is no honor in pulling a man back like that. Like, it's one thing to pull his arm and kind of nudge him out the way, but to put him like you.
He was trying to swap shirts with him before the end of the game. That's what it was. It looked like he was trying to rip the shirt off his back. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, it was disgraceful. And again, I know there's different interpretations of the rules. Maybe some referees would have given it, but for me, that one's violent conduct, and the second one is careless play. So what do you do? Like, I mean, I've seen them both given. Do you know what I mean? And if they're not for us, then what the hell's going on?
And the thing is, I just feel as though the referee was scared to like make a big call in this final.
Make a big splash, and be like, it's about what I've done that day. Do you know what I mean?
You know, and it's like, you know, going back, like you just mentioned, like with the Denmark game, you know, we got a questionable penalty, but then that would have kind of like ruled itself out had the Denmark free kick correctly been retaken, because their wall moved. You know, their wall should have been 1 meter away from our wall.
It always, there's, you know, obviously we've had plenty where we've kind of like been. We've got every team as well, every club, you know, you get ones where you get away with it, also Man United, and you get ones where you kind of, you feel like your team's been done over, really.
I mean, talking of Man United, though, I think Bruno's probably going to be quaking in his boots seeing that Maguire penalty.
Knocking out the
camera.
What do you call it? The camera. Like,
to be fair, that, like, if you're a youngster and you're looking at that, you're thinking that's how you should be taking a penalty. Just run up, put your foot through the ball.
It was hard as well, though, because obviously their keeper's not a small fella, is he? So, you really
6'5" and 22 years old. Bloody hell.
It had to be placed hard. And like you say, a Maguire penalty came on, even the Kane one, he got close, you know, not, I won't say super close, but like, you know, Kane didn't get much further than him. So, you could kind of get, maybe that's why Rashford was put off, because he's like, this is a big man. I need to get in that corner, and that's what made him hit the post. But it seems worse when he dies the other way. You're like, you had all this space, but obviously that is a split second. You don't have all that space. So you have, in your head, you have this much space. You know.
The thing is, he gave himself that space though by doing that stutter. That's the whole point of
And if it works, great. Yeah, but I felt that this wasn't the game to do those kind of run-ups when you yourself should know. Maybe, but he's sticking to what he knows, so I can kind of get that, you know, to calm your nerves, but.
The only thing was I the only one that was thinking if Grealish takes a penalty, he's doing a Panenka? I was like, if he takes one, he's just going to dink it. But
yeah, but like, again, going back to Grealish, he said he wanted to take one, so we really don't know what went on behind the scenes. It's easy for us to say things in hindsight, and I'm disappointed, you know. So obviously, maybe I'm a bit harsh on Southgate at times in this, but I got to say, like, and let's get into the positives now. I think he proved a lot of people wrong through the tournament. I think I've always been not always been, but I've been quite a fan and impressed, especially since 2018. Worried about certain things at times, like most of us have been. But I have to say, I think he did this country so proud. And at the end of it, when he's consoling like Saka, I think one of his assistants come up to him at the end, and they kind of like put their arm around him a bit. And I thought, you know what? He needs that as well, man. Like, he's been through this himself.
He knows exactly how Saka's feeling.
And now he's having it again. Now he's having it as a manager in the final. He's got to be heartbreaking too. So we've got to remember as well, he's not the only, you know, it's not as much as we might be upset at decisions he made, he's feeling it too. So, and that goes for all kind of online abuse and stuff like that. You know, people really need to lay off this. And I'm so proud of every single one of them. So proud of the players that stepped up and didn't score. So proud of the players that didn't even play a minute, you know, or play much, you know, like everybody seemed there was harmony in the camp. And I think we always say, you know, we feel like a club side, this England team these days. And I'm excited about the World Cup next year. I am worried about some aspects of it because obviously we did have somewhat of a favourable run, you know, like That's what hurts, man. Like we had
no Brazil, no Argentina.
Yeah, exactly. We're in the final in Wembley, and like we had a lot going our way. But I've got to say, credit. We can't just talk about England here. Credit to Italy, as much as I didn't like some or approve of some of their kind of reactions. They are class players. They're an amazing side who, if we didn't win, they deserve to win. They have been the best team of the tournament, in my opinion. I think they have played many different styles. You know, they've shut up shop when they needed to. They've gone gung-ho and got like first game, they got 3-0, won it. So like they come out all, firing and I think, 34 games in a row they haven't lost now. It's like and that's exactly, I put in the title here, basically, England heartbreak, but like, Italy, their revival, basically, because this is a team who didn't make the 2018 World Cup, and now they are European champions. And I thought England's progression was great. Like the last Euros, we went out to Iceland, and it's funny. I want to listen back to the podcast we did for Talking Beans before we had the football channel, when we did the Talking Beans podcast, and we were like, we've reviewed 2016. And obviously back then, like Hodgson had just left or was leaving. So it's interesting seeing what we thought England would. So if you're interested in that, guys, go back and listen to our thoughts there. But seeing what we thought, but I would never in my wildest dreams back then, I'm pretty sure, thought we'd get anywhere near a final. So although Italy's ones even happened in a quicker time and more extreme because they weren't even in the World Cup, I'm equally as impressed with what Southgate has done as far as, getting from this team that none of us were connecting with in 2016 up to 2021. And again, socially, but on the pitch as well, a team that I think we can all, get behind, and they deserve our credit and deserve our support because they've been amazing. And Southgate is a big part of that. You can question his tactics at times, that maybe he needs to go a bit more forward and not be so cagey himself. But if it wasn't for the way that he is with the players, with the media and things like that, and the tactics that did work, we would be nowhere near this. I really think that.
Yeah, definitely. I echo exactly what you said there. And the thing as well we've got to think is, 18 months time when we have the World Cup, it's probably going to largely be this same group of players. Do you think like Walker, Trippier and Henderson were the only ones in their 30s? So every member of this team is still like mid-20s, like early 20s, teens, a couple of them. A couple of them, like thankfully, Saka and Bellingham, their schools let them have a couple of weeks holiday for their tournament.
This is going to come from, like, obviously an Arsenal point of view. Everyone thinks their kids are the best. You know what I mean? Like, but someone like Emil Smith-Rowe, a few more, like 18 months, Emil Smith-Rowe will be knocking on that door. Just like Saka wasn't a year ago. We also see flashes of him at Arsenal a year ago. And then a year later, like Foden might not go in the team last year. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for, like you say, these players, but also the players that were on the fringes or maybe got in it but didn't really get to play much. And what they get. And again, looking at Saka, people didn't have him in their squads. And people then were like, if anyone I dropped from the original, 30-odd, 34, if we drop anyone, Saka probably won't go. I was worried for Saka, even though I thought he deserved to go. Not deserving in England sense, but deserved for what he'd done at Arsenal and what people might not have seen of him. And he goes from those fringes to literally being the darling of the team. Jack Grealish started that way. We all cheered when he was getting subbed on and stuff like that. You got to play Grealish. But then as Saka played more and more, everyone was like, that Saka kid. Do you know what I mean? To get into the point where he was like, everyone thought if anyone's cut from the 34, it'll be Saka, to the point where he was given, rightly or wrongly, he was given the penalty that might have changed our history. It's an insane journey for the boy.
Definitely. I think, what I think as well, though, I think if they had a squad of 23, I don't think he would have made the squad.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
I think it probably would have been him, Bellingham, and probably one of the defenders, like White or something, that would have missed out on the squad there. But, apparently, though, one of the England unsung heroes, like in the dressing room, was Connor Cody. Now, didn't play a single minute at this tournament, but obviously he's the captain of Wolves. And apparently he was like the captain in the dressing room, like literally getting the players up for the game. And, they're the kind of players that managers are going to love. The players that they don't even have to play a minute of a game, but yet they're motivating everybody else.
Yeah. So important.
And that's the thing, is like you need that characters. And like you mentioned as well, it's like it seems like this England team is more of a club side because, we've had it years and years ago when like you'd have the Man United lot the Liverpool lot, the Chelsea lot, the
Arsenal.
Arsenal
Trying to fit people in, or like they don't fit as well. Like just because you want to play Scholes,
like square pegs in round holes sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, you know, people are willing to kind of like play slightly out of position if they need to. Like Mason Mount played from the right, whereas he's normally playing through the centre. You know, he's done that for Chelsea, but you know, and you're talking about like Saka, you know, he's had a really good tournament. And I mean, just like touching on Grealish though as well, like, do you feel as though sometimes people may have overhyped him slightly because like for what he did and for how kind of little he played, considering everyone was like, oh, he needs to play Grealish. Now, the way that everyone was going on, and obviously the fact that he was handed the number 7 shirt, which, you know, as England fans, you know, we say a lot about it as well. But from the way everybody was talking about it from the from before the Euro started, it was, if you don't play Jack Grealish every single game, you are not going to get a single result in this tournament. When you look at it, take the penalty shootout out of it, we didn't lose a single game. Like in 90 minutes, we didn't lose a single game. In 120 minutes, we didn't lose a single game. Like, you know, the score on penalties will technically show England-Italy 1-1 after extra time. Italy won on penalties, but regardless, you know, so even like that, we can be proud. You know, obviously Scotland got the 0-0 victory over us in the group stage. You know, they'll take that. But
I think going back to Grealish, I mean, I would say he didn't have the impact that people thought he might, but he did a job. Like he did exactly what I think he needed to do. He always injected the pace. He made the runs. He won the fouls. Everything I thought he should. And I think if he played a full game, then maybe he would have got more, you know, assists and goals or whatever else. But then at the same time, he didn't because of the system we played. I think bringing him the way he did, most times it worked really well. There's a few times where I did think it was 5 minutes too late, but we scraped through and it worked out. But for me, a lot of it is the tactics. I think, I would have loved to see Sancho and cram them all in. But the way we did it, I think was great. The only things I would change, I would have built Grealish on a little bit earlier in a few of the games. I would have brought on Sancho for more minutes. Not saying he has to play completely, because then suddenly everyone's going, what about Foden? And suddenly everyone's going, what about Saka again? You know, like it's going to go, you know, so they have to manage it. And I think Southgate did it very well. There's a few I would have tweets, but up until this recent game, I couldn't complain because we made it all that way, apart from the Scotland game, because that was boring. But then, and in this one, I think it was those errors and things I didn't really like about Southgate's decisions. They just got dialed up that little bit too much. You know what I mean? Like we said earlier, certain subs coming on too late, certain decisions and certain kind of tactics being held on for too long and not changed up when it needs to be. Because I think that's where we lost the game. You know, like around 55 minutes where we didn't change up the tactics and switch up the midfield. And then on the second side of that would be when we had 10 minutes to go in extra time and we still hadn't brought on Rashford and Sancho. But hey, I want to be positive. It was a great tournament. I've always wondered what it'd be like, and we got to experience that. What would it be like if we was in the final? Like, I was going down was on a motorway, and there was like all those, you know, the signs for the traffic and stuff like that. They were saying England, bring it home. Like there were billboards, like electric billboards everywhere. All campaigns were updated to reflect the final, and all these companies supporting them and stuff like that. Singing and dancing in the street before the game even started. You know, I've always wondered what that would be like. I'll continue to wonder what it's like to win it. But like I said to you earlier, 2 minutes into it, that feeling of we're actually going to win it, I'll always remember that. I look back on 2018 fondly, and the heartache of Croatia is still there, but it's not like it was on the night. You know, I was like, but final was different. And like, you know, not even 24 hours removed, like it really hurts. Like I've been angry most of the day. Like, I really have. Like, and I've seen certain things. I don't want to watch certain things. I want to do like certain things that make me emotional, seeing Saka upset and whatever else. And then I get angry again. And then, you know, this whole whirlwind of emotion. I do think in time we're going to look back on this, and it will be the way we look fondly on 2018, the way we look fondly on Euro 96. But I always wondered, but what if when you get too close, is it even harder to do that? Because it just feels like, but we should have done it. And I know a lot of people look at 1990 that way, and we still had one more game to go with that, you know, like, but this is like, we were literally one hand on the trophy, man. Yeah. We had one hand on the trophy.
Literally, we had a hand on the trophy for 65 minutes of that game.
it was falling from half time, but we definitely still had the hand on it for a bit.
And the thing as well is, like, when you think about it, so Luke Shaw obviously opening the scoring in that game as well, and he was one of the names that people were saying, oh, why is he taking Luke Shaw? Like, a lot of people were criticising that decision. Likewise, a lot of people were criticising like Raheem Sterling, saying he shouldn't even make the starting lineup. But
he's
for
probably
me,
our star for most of it.
He was up, I mean, and Harry Kane showing up obviously in the knockout stages when we needed him, kind of thing. We said on here a few times he was kind of anonymous a bit in the group stage, but I mean, overall, as I say, I am so proud of every single one of the lads that represented our country, at this tournament. And it wasn't the result that we wanted. It's an experience, though, that we as fans of our clubs have experienced many times. Losing in finals, we've experienced winning in finals. That's the one thing that I'm still holding on hope, that one day in our lifetime, England are going to win a trophy.
That's my biggest fear, that we won't get there again, even though we're so good. Because we touched on it, I think, on the last episode when we were previewing the final. And I said to you, as an Arsenal fan, if you would have told me the Invincibles, that's the last time you're going to win a league title for the foreseeable future, I'd be like, are you crazy? And the same as with the Champions League final. Like, I was devastated after that. And the Europa League, not to the same extent, because obviously Champions League is much bigger, but when we lost the Europa League to Chelsea, it was heartbreak, because it was like, this could be our rebuild. This could be us getting back, and it weren't. But this one, like, I'm so fearful that we're not going to get there again, just because, like look how good Belgium are, man.
Yeah. And you've still got the Emirates Cup, though. Don't worry about
it. But, Belgium, they ain't got to a final. Like, how many times are we going to get the
France, Germany
on our side and kind of like, but saying that, like, we took care of Germany, man. Like, that's a lot to be proud of in that game. And obviously Ukraine was an easier game, but it was a great performance from England. We did exactly what we needed to do. We conquered the Croatia thing straight away. It was, I was worried about dropping points to them and not picking up any. So, and like you said, like, technically up until the penalty shootout, we hadn't lost a single game, and there's so much to be proud about. I'm just fearful that we won't get there again, but man, do I hope we do.
I mean, the only thing we can hope is that the same group of lads, obviously with a couple of additions, can take us into the 2022 World Cup, and they'll be just that little bit more experienced.
Yeah, and maybe Saka will help. Maybe he will grow, but it's a risky thing. That's what I was so worried about. Like, he might not.
I think the one thing for me that I'm hoping that he does now is, with the qualifying games for the World Cup, he's not going to be experimenting. He's not going to be tinkering too much with the team.
He should know his team.
It's like, now, if you know what your lineup is going to be, make sure you've got those same core group of players that are going to try and be playing for you every single time, so that they get that gelling with each other, so they know, okay, if I've got the ball here, I know he's going to make this run. If I'm turning this way, I know I've got this player here, that player there.
Yeah.
Because
I do feel like 2018 was a transitional squad. As much as it was great and things went well, it wasn't his squad. It was like, still a big part of it was that 2016 squad that failed miserably. So there were a few changes, but this is his squad now. And it ain't like when we say it with club managers, like, it's his squad because he brought the player in and he signed this one and he got that and he got the money for the such and such. Like, it's just in the sense that, like, he's been part of a lot of these players, their entire journey for England now, where even at youth level for a lot of them. So this is the time. And I do think in 18 months, that's what gives me like hope and things like that about the future. But what puts me off is that we haven't got to that level enough to, even if we got on a bad side of the draw, that we'd beat a Portugal and a Brazil and a France, you know what I mean? Like, so, but then maybe again, like you say, gelling over the next 18 months is a plenty of time to go, you know what, last time we did Germany and Croatia in the same tournament, this time we'll do Portugal, Spain and Argentina, like, we can do 3 big teams, so
so as much as I'd love to see, like, a Mings and Cody playing at the back together, it's like, if Stones and Maguire are your go-to centre backs, play, if they're fit, play them.
Yeah, and then bring the other guys on for subs. Like we were talking earlier off air about like Andorra in a few months, World Cup qualifier. That's a game where, like you, I'd like to play our main team and then experiment like at the end, because surely we'd be beaten and we could be free. If we're 3-0 up against Andorra, bring on Cody and Mings. That's what he should be doing. Like 3-0 up with 30 minutes to go, then start bringing people on. But
I think though that the way that it seems like the Southgate mentality is at the moment is that if he goes 3-0 up, then I don't think he'd want to risk too much of like the 3, 4s and 5s, or the 4, 5s and 6s, sorry. And that's where you've got to kind of...
When do you do it? Because as Lucas said in the comment earlier, you don't do it in the Euros.
Yeah.
You don't do it in the friendlies. So he experiments so much. We need to do it at the right times.
We're doing the friendlies, I
guess. Don't get many of them these days, though. Because of the Nations League. So
and
that's another thing.
About that as well.
The finals for that is coming up soon. Obviously, we're already out of that. But then the next campaign, I think that would be a great time to hopefully be a stepping stone as well.
And I mean the thing is, if I'm looking back on this, I mean I think the only criticisms that I'd have of Gareth Southgate was his choice in penalty takers at the end, and the fact that throughout the tournament, I felt sometimes he did just leave it that 5-10 minutes too long to make changes. It's like literally that 5 or 10 minutes was the difference between us, say, beating a Croatia and a Czech Republic 1-0 and 2-0. It could have been the difference between us drawing 0-0 with Scotland and beating them 1-0. Likewise, going into some of these games, it could well have been. I mean, I was always saying Chiellini and Bonucci are gonna hate the England pace. Now, why they didn't literally just throw on as much pace as they could against, like, no disrespect to them, 35 and 36-year-old centre backs.
And the thing is, Mancini himself started bringing on sub, and it was like they were getting stronger. They were turning into a beast in that second half. Those older legs started to get like a bit of life in them. You know what I mean? Like, because they were worked so hard in the first half. I thought, come 65 minutes, it'll be them struggling. But because of the way that Mancini, exactly, and because of the way Mancini changed it up, it gave new life into that team. They were dominating us in that first, before they got that goal. It was coming. The goal was coming. Right, let's not be too negative. Oh, let's just say quickly, the goal itself, sloppy. Good that Pickford got a hand to it, hit off the post. There's only so much you can do. You can put it down to should have been marked better, but it was one of those goals.
There's some people even saying there's a handball in there, but I don't think if you're going to give handballs for that, you got to give it for every time a ball just touches someone. But
true. And then it'd really have to give a choke down to a stamp, but he obviously didn't want to do that. So I don't want to be a bitter England fan because again, like Italy have been amazing this whole tournament. I've enjoyed watching them, and I said like when I did the in 2020 when I was like I did that whole kind of predictor of who I thought would have won it if it took place last year, and I put Italy right in the final because I think again like, a lot of people at the time were thinking, what? And I think a year on they've just got better and better, and so credit to them, credit to Mancini, credit to, like you say, the older guys and stuff like that who've literally been amazing in this tournament as well. So very, very I'm happy for Italy in that sense. I'm not happy we lost, and I'm not happy about some of the dirty tactics, but for a nation, they're a great footballing nation, and as scary it is now, because now that's another one we got to contend with. Obviously they weren't there in 2018. The Dutch are getting back to being included in tournaments as well. Didn't work out this time, but obviously Van Dijk coming back, I think that would change things. We have got more teams to be afraid of as far as big teams, but as we touched on earlier, England have got a lot of upsides as well. A lot of teams are starting to get afraid of England, and we made a lot of noise in this competition that I think maybe made people more aware of what England are kind of producing at youth level. So that's something to look forward to as well.
And you know what? Football did come home.
It did.
Sort of. Never have we had this level of unity in the country.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, as we touched on earlier, after it, some people turned into absolute twats. But
can I be totally honest with you? I think I would say, right, and this is just me looking at it from an outsider's point of view. How many of those people? Do you know what I think doesn't help it? The fact that they had the game as an 8 o'clock kickoff.
I thought you were going to say anonymous people online, but
that too. But an 8 o'clock kickoff, because you think pubs, like I know, like opposite where I live, there's a pub that was open from 10 a.m. in the morning. Now, how many of those
if you're not
people...
pacing yourself, man, like...
No, exactly.
I was worried about, like, even myself just naturally being out and thinking, no, I really want to slow it down because you won't enjoy the game either. I imagine there are a lot of people that were wasted and they didn't even watch the game. Like, they don't remember anything about it. And that's not good anyway. But yeah, like the people, like you said, it didn't give us good opportunity. Like, if it was a 3 o'clock kickoff, it would have been better. And if we won, we could have celebrated after or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd just celebrate at 11 o'clock.
Well, they reckon so the World Cup in Qatar. So Qatar is like 3 hours in front of us. So they said that the UK time kickoffs are going to be 3 p.m. I think 6 p.m. and 7 p.m.
That'd be great if it was in the summer.
You know, a 3 p.m. kickoff. Yeah. To be fair, I think this one they could have literally used a bit of common sense, even if they'd have put it at 5 o'clock. You know, it's that 3 hours less. But you know, I don't know why the UEFA just love that 8 o'clock time slots. Like you look at like the Champions League and everything like that, they're always doing it at that kind of time.
Under the lights and all that. But Champions League's played a different part of the year, so it wasn't even that. It was still daylight. So it's like, why are you doing it? Like, I don't get why they do it so late. But either way.
The thing is, I think, you know, it's like we're trying to make excuses for like some of the mindless idiots that were just hell-bent on causing
it doesn't help.
It doesn't help. You know, pubs are open from 10 a.m, but then, you know, you've still got to obviously be like a bit sensible. You know, if you can't handle your drink, don't drink. You know, but for all, you know, by all means, go out, have a drink, have some fun. But make sure that you are not acting like a complete idiot and spoiling it for the majority.
There's always a few. There's always a few. Yeah. But anyway, hey.
I guess on that note,
I've enjoyed the tournament. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Those that are viewing, that have watched it live and on demand, please comment, let us know what you thought of the tournament, what you thought of this game as well. And please subscribe. We really thank you, everyone that's joined us for the watch-alongs, all the guests that we've had, not watch-alongs, it hasn't been a watch-along, for the reviews, the live reviews and stuff like that, for all the people that have joined us as guests on the show as well, the people who have commented, the people who have subscribed. Obviously, we're a brand new football channel as well, just migrating over from the main Rebellious Noise channel. So, if you found us, hey, please stick around and give us a little subscribe. Dan, anything you want to say? I can see you're getting your flag ready, so I'll let you do the outro.
Basically, England, we are so proud of you guys. Thank you for giving us some amazing moments throughout this tournament. It didn't work out well in the end, but don't forget, we are proud of every single one of you guys. Onwards and upwards now to Qatar 2022. Let's bring that trophy home.
On to the next.
Welcome to RNFC, the official Rebellious Noise Football Channel, where you'll find content such as goal hanging, live match reactions, as well as news and opinions on all aspects of the beautiful game. We will also cover some of the more cultural side of the sport, such as kit reviews, football nostalgia, and in-depth historical pieces on those who built the game that we love today. So win, lose or draw, make sure you subscribe before the full-time whistle blows.